I'm Jess Sargis, high-performance speaker, certified mental performance mastery coach, and your guide to mastering your mental game. I went from Ivy League trained attorney to undefeated MMA fighter and back again. Now I help high achievers in any field live with fierce agency, deep alignment, and the power to win consistently when it matters most. You can do it all when you train your mindset, energy, and focus like elite athletes. That's why this is the Legal Athlete Podcast, where each week I use neuroscience, performance psychology, and real-world battle-tested strategies to help you unlock sustainable excellence, bold decisions, and the courage to show up each day as the badass you are. Green light. Let's go. Welcome back to the Legal Athlete Podcast. I'm recording from my small hometown where I grew up this week, visiting my folks, spending time with my best friend since we were both 9 years old, and meeting up with another old friend, like I talked about a couple weeks ago, to take a leap into the lake and right the regret we both have for not jumping in when we graduated high school. I can never come home, though, without reminders and thinking of all the time I spent acting in drama club in high school, from Shakespeare to musicals. Yeah, guys, I was a big theater kid. But today, it was the first time I connected what I did as an actor back then with what I do now, helping people perform at their best under pressure. So stick with me on this story, and I promise we'll connect all the dots. So the epiphany came, as so often happens when we give ourselves space and quiet to let our brains run in the background, when I was on a morning walk up the street this morning where I grew up, past cornfields and farmhouses, and cresting the top of a hill where I could catch a glimpse of the deep blue waters of my home Finger Lake, Skaneateles Lake, out in the distance. With my thoughts of my high school acting experiences in the background, as they always are, I was walking up the hill listening to Amy Cuddy's book, Presence, and she was talking about a study that David Creswell and David Sherman conducted that put Stanford professor Claude Steele's self-affirmation theory to the test. Here's what the study was. In the face of a high-pressure, high-stakes situation, a stressful academic challenge, Creswell and Sherman had one group of students write about a personal core value before the tasks, one that meant a lot to them. Another group wrote about something that didn't necessarily connect with them. So what happened? The students who affirmed their values performed significantly better under pressure. Their stress levels were lower, their sense of control was higher, and they were more focused and resilient. This is the power of self-affirmation theory. It's not about telling yourself, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and gosh darn it, people like me. That's SNL, that's funny. This is deeply meaningful. It's when we remind ourselves of who we are and what matters most to us before facing a threat. It buffers us from that threat to ourselves. It creates psychological safety, psychological insulation, basically. It tells our nervous system, I'm good. I know what I stand for. I know who I am. And this challenge can't take that away from me. As Amy Cuddy wrote in that book, before heading into a situation where we may be challenged, we can reduce our anxiety by reaffirming the parts of our authentic, best selves we value most. Now, this is why alignment with our MVP, our mission, vision, and core principles is one of the 5 pillars of my Fierce Agency system. Because when you know who you are, you can show up with clarity, calm, and courage, no matter the stakes. Now, here's the other twist I didn't see coming until that walk up the hill. What does this have to do with acting? Back in drama club in high school, I learned how to step into a character, not just memorize lines, but go deep and understand who they were, what they valued, what they wanted, what they felt. The best performances came when I had the deep clarity on that character's identity and then allowed myself to embody that identity in the moment. Amy Cuddy highlights this too in her book Presence in her interview with actor Julianne Moore. Moore said that to be truly present on stage or screen, it's not enough to know who your character is. You have to act on it. You move through the world as them. You live out their truth. And that's the same exact process we need in real life. To perform at your best under pressure, you don't need to become someone else. You need to remember who you already are. And then you move through the world from that truth, from your truth. Here's that aha moment that hit me. When I was a teenager on stage, I felt safe to be fully seen as long as I was playing a character. So why don't we give ourselves the same safety in real life to display our character? What if we treated ourselves the way we treat a fictional character we're going to embody in a play? Taking time before high-stakes situations to ground in our values, our real story, our why. Because when we do that, studies show it literally changes how our brain responds under pressure. That inner clarity quiets the amygdala's panic and allows our prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for logic and language and composure, to stay online. Self-affirmation in this sense is not fluff. It is performance science. So here's how you put this into practice. Try this before your next high-pressure moment, whether it's a hearing, a big conversation, a negotiation or presentation, or even just a hard conversation in your day. First, name a core value. Write down one core value that deeply matters to you, something that you can say, I am, or I value this. Something like, I am courageous, or I value courage, integrity, love, growth, creativity, justice, service to others, whatever it is, whatever really matters to you, write that down. And then take 2 minutes to journal. This is the second part. Connect to why that matters to you. Why is that value important to you? Why is it a critical part of your identity? When did you live it out? How does it define who you are? And then third, breathe. Take a few slow, deep breaths and imagine stepping into your day as the person who lives that value fully. This is a great time to use your physiological sigh. Remember, that's a huge breath in through your nose, inflating your lungs, and then an extra little breath through your nose at the top, trying to make sure that all of your lungs, all of your alveoli are fully inflated, and then a long, slow exhale out through your mouth, at least 8 counts, trying to eliminate all the air in your lungs fully. That's one physiological sigh. Do that 3 times in a row. And then finally, activate your trigger. Now is the time to pull out your secret weapon, your metacognitive starting ritual, your triggered action. Right before the moment where you're going to be challenged, either whisper to yourself or mentally say to yourself your trigger phrase. Something like, let's go, it's time, or even my favorite, green light. Just doing this for 5 minutes before your next challenging situation, taking the time to sink into your character, who you really are, can rewire your mindset for the moment ahead. Because when you believe your own story, as Amy Cuddy says, you don't have to perform for approval. You simply show up aligned because you know who you are. So, who do you think you are? It's not a rhetorical question. It's the most high-performance question you can ask yourself, especially to prepare to perform under pressure. And when you know the answer, you don't just reduce stress, you increase trust. You increase your psychological safety, your focus, presence, and power. That's self-efficacy. That's agency. So the next time you're feeling nervous, unsure, or off your game, just take a moment. Walk up your own metaphorical hometown hill. Reconnect to what matters most. And then, green light. Let's go. That's a wrap. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Legal Athlete Podcast. If today's episode fired you up or gave you something to train with, hit follow, leave a review, and share it with a fellow high achiever who's ready to raise their game. Want to bring this energy to your team, firm, or event? Or are you ready to train for your next high-stakes moment with me directly? Click the link in the show notes to connect. I'm Jess Sargis, and I coach the bold, lawyers, leaders, and anyone ready to lead their life with fierce agency. Green light. Let's go.